Hello everyone, my name is Tabby and welcome back to my channel Keeping Tabs, where today I'm going to be doing a spoiler-free review for my favorite book of the whole entire year, Red Rising by Pierce Brown. This is such an amazing book. I'm going to do my 5-star ratings. I gave this book 4 stars and I will tell you why. If you want to know how I rate my books, I recently filmed a video, so I will leave a link down below all about my rating system. But for now, we're going to be talking about Red Rising. So if you haven't read it, don't worry, I'm not going to spoil anything, but also read it. Like, what are you doing? Read it. It's so good. It's so good. I'm going to try not to fangirl, but it might be a little difficult because I just love this book so much. So first, we're going to talk about the setting. This takes place hundreds of years into the future where humans have colonized and now live on every planet of our solar system and almost all of the moons. And also the society, the people have been divided into a hierarchy, and there are 14 levels of this pyramid, and the bottom is the reds and the top is the gold. So each part of the pyramid has a color, and each group of people have been engineered to carry out specific tasks to contribute to a specific part of the society. For example, the golds are very intelligent and they are the rulers and leaders of the solar system and the society, and the reds at the bottom, they are not very skilled and they are conditioned to live in very brutal environments. You have the blues that are the pilots, the yellows, I think the yellows are doctors and scientists, the greens are very good with technology, and there's 14 colors, so there's all kinds of different slots in society that these colors fit in. And it's not a very good system because if you're at the low color, the bottom of the pyramid, you're getting a pretty crappy deal and you're not really looked at equally, and nobody really cares if you die, basically. So that's the setting of this book. On the back, it said reminiscent of the Hunger Games and Game of Thrones, and I definitely agree with that statement. It has a lot of ancient and Greek vibes too, like ancient Rome and ancient Greek vibes in the way that the military system is set up, in the way that they do their politics. It's reminiscent of that civilization. But for the Game of Thrones aspect, in Game of Thrones you have your major houses like the Starks and the Lannisters and the Tyrells, and then under those major houses you have a bunch of smaller houses that act as their bannermen, and that's also very prevalent in this story. You have your major houses like the Bologna and the Augustus and a bunch of other houses, and then you have your lesser houses that act as the bannermen. You also have the emphasis of honor and loyalty, and you have your knights and your swords, and because this is a sci-fi that takes place hundreds of years in the future, you have a lot of advanced technology. So even though there's knights and swords, the knight's armor and the swords are so advanced and they are altered in a way that makes sense and suits a sci-fi book. They're not your typical swords. They have like little gadgets attached to them, and it's so amazing. Pierce Brown is just a genius. As for the Hunger Games aspect, there is a game that these characters have to play. It's not really a game, it's more of like a school and a learning opportunity. It's a place that the gold wants to go to. They go to as like young children, like 18. I guess that's not young children, but you know what I mean, young adult. They attend this school, and it's basically a way to train and prepare these young adults for the real world. Because they are gold, they're expected to be leaders and rulers of the whole society. So this game is used as a way to teach them how to command, how to dominate, and how to take charge. And there are no rules, so a lot of death happens in this book. It's brutal, it's ugly, and I love every second of it. If you're down for that, just read this, okay? It's so good. Next, we're going to talk about the plot. Oh, for the setting, I gave it 1 star because it's just breathtaking. For the plot, we're going to talk about plot next. Sorry, I'm getting a little excited. The plot is your typical revolution, rebellion plot. Our main character Darrow, he is a red, he's at the bottom of the barrel, and he gets wheeled into this rebellion, this revolution, and he is turned into a tool to help lead and take over the golds and help lead the lower colors into a better world. So is it original? Not really. The plot itself, not really, because it's your typical main character trying to overthrow the government and take the world, kind of in that kind of sense. But what makes it original is the writing style, the world building, the setting, everything, all of that makes it so original. It's so intense. The stakes are so high. Like, honestly, you'll have like a little anxiety attack, I'm telling you. Like, you don't know who to trust. You don't know what's gonna happen. The plot twists and the turns are just crazy. I absolutely love it. For the characters, I gave it half a star because although Darrow, our main character, is well developed, there are other characters that you want to know more of, but you just don't get to know more of. So Darrow, our main character, starts out kind of satisfied. He's not loving his life as a Red because obviously he's like a slave, but he's not jonesing to change the world, if you know what I mean. It's his wife that wants to push for a better life, and she pushes him towards that goal. And a lot of readers didn't really like that his wife was used in that way, and they don't like the way that women overall are treated in this book. But I'm not gonna lie, I don't think I noticed anything, or if I did, it didn't really bug me. Honestly, the action and the intensity of this whole book overshadowed every flaw that this book possibly has, which doesn't have very many. But yeah, a lot of people didn't like the treatment of women, so just be aware of that, I guess. But I don't really have any examples of that because I didn't really see it. So yeah. But the other characters, there are more characters that I really wanted to know more about and see more of. The only two characters that we get a feel for that I fell in love with are Cassius and Severo, mainly Cassius, but there were a lot of other characters that I want to know more of, but you just don't really get to know more of. And so when things happen to other characters, it's kind of like you're supposed to care, but you really don't because you don't really know them. The only reason you care so much is because of the way that Darrow talks about it or mentions it, but you don't really care about that character, you know what I mean? So it's kind of hard. I wish he would have given us a little more about certain characters. So yeah, characters gets half a star. So next we're going to talk about the writing style. I'm not really somebody who notices writing style. Like I want to be an author and I'm trying to write a book, but I'm not really good. Like, I'm not an English major or anything. But in this book, I did notice that the writing style is like a stream of conscious. It's first-person narrative, Darrow's point of view. And it's literally like you're in his head. The thoughts that enter his mind is what goes on the page as they come out. So sentences aren't always structured properly, but it's not anything like... It's not going to take you out of the story or anything. It just really legit feels like you're in his head and you're listening to every thought that comes into his head as it comes into his head. So I thought that was really cool. As for descriptions, it worked well, I guess. Nothing was too descriptive. I wasn't like bored with anything. He didn't spend too much time trying to describe something that really didn't need so much description. So as for that, I think it flowed pretty well. So that got a full star. The final category, which is the beginning and the ending, I gave it half a star because as much as I love this book, and I love this book, don't get me wrong, okay? I love this book. But the beginning was a little difficult to get into. It took me about 75 pages, and yeah, it was kind of hard. I don't know. Maybe I wasn't ready to read a sci-fi like this. I don't know what it was, but the beginning was hard to get into. 75 pages worth of hard to get into. But after that, I am telling you, you will fly through it. The ending was so epic and grand, and oh my gosh, I can't believe it. Sometimes this character, like, you think he's gonna do something, and you're just like, there's no way he's gonna do it. There's no way it's gonna work, but then he does it, and it works, and your mind is blown. And that is what the ending was. The ending was brilliant and beautiful, and I loved it, so that's why it gets half a star. The beginning was eh. I mean, it was eh, but I definitely still recommend it. I recommend it so much. But yeah, so the tally is 4 stars because half a star went to characters and half a star went to the beginning and ending. So this book got 4 out of 5 stars. Such a good read. Favorite book of the year. I definitely recommend it if you love the Game of Thrones books or the Hunger Games books, although I have read the second book, and the Hunger Games aspect is mainly in the first book. Everything after is like Game of Thrones. Like, it really gets more Game of Thronesy in the second book because there's a lot more political intrigue and like backstabbing, and it's just so good. Anyways, that's my review. Let me know if you read this, and if you're thinking about reading it, definitely just just cave in and read it. You will not regret. It's so fast-paced, you'll fly through it. I'm gonna go because now I'm just rambling on. I can really talk about this all day and I don't want to slip out a spoiler. So let me know in the comments down below what you thought about this book if you've read it, and I will talk to you guys soon. Bye!